Good. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Tonight is the Uwchlan Township Board of Supervisors meeting for the month of March. I want to announce before we begin that the board met in executive session on March 5th and March 10th to discuss personnel matters. If you would all rise with me to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Before we begin, I wanted to draw everyone's attention to our public participation rules and guidelines for public meetings, which I believe is printed on the back of your agenda. A couple of points to highlight. Residents or taxpayers of the township who wish to address the board during the public comment period at the end of the public meeting should sign their names to the sign-in sheet, which is provided by the township at the table at the back of the room. Speakers must identify themselves by name and street name. A business or an organization is encouraged to designate one person to present comments on its behalf. The speaker must direct all comments to the Board of Supervisors and not to township staff. Each speaker recognized by the board chair will be given 3 minutes to comment during the public comment period. No official board action will be taken on items presented during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. Items may be referred to township staff and/or the appropriate working group or committee for further research and discussion. Matters addressed publicly to the board will be taken under advisement, and either the board will respond to the person raising the issue directly at a later date, or the board will respond to the items during a public future meeting as an agenda item. The board need not engage in discussion on comments offered. Speakers should limit repetitious comments and, when appropriate, acknowledge agreement with the previous speaker's comment or position. While the public has the right to make critical remarks, the public does not have the right to disrupt meetings. In the case of serious disruption, the board will adjourn the meeting or take other such action to resolve the disruption as appropriate under the circumstances. And as always, this meeting is subject to video and audio recording. With that, I will go ahead and ask if there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2025 meeting and our March 3rd, 2025 workshop. So moved.
Second.
Is there any board questions or comment?
Yeah.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to our reports this evening, we will start with the police. Chief Alexander.
Thank you and good evening. For the month of February 2025, the Uwchlan Township Police Department officers documented 995 entries in the Police Department call reporting system. During the reporting period, the officers issued 73 traffic citations. They investigated 27 motor vehicle crashes, and they arrested 19 individuals. Additionally, for the month of February, the department members conducted 1 motor carrier detail at the weigh station, resulting in 381 commercial motor vehicles being weighed, 4 of which were found to be overweight. During the detail, the officers also performed 5 inspections, requiring 2 vehicles to be placed out of service. The officers were assisted by members of the West Whiteland Township Police Department and the Coatesville City Police Department. During the month, Officer Scott conducted 2 commercial vehicle inspections during his normal working hours, but reported no out-of-service violations. Year to date, the officers had answered and/or put in our call reporting system 2,154 entries. They arrested 50 individuals. They've written 228 traffic citations, 85 written warnings, 56 crash investigations they've handled, and they have weighed 1,093 commercial motor vehicles.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Treasurer's report.
Good evening. Through the month of February, which fund, we have collected just over 16% of our budgeted revenues and have spent just under 13%.
Great, thank you. Public Works.
For the month of February, the daily average flow to the Downingtown treatment plant was 1.36 million gallons per day. There were no new connections for Dara or Eagleview. The township received 1.85 inches of rain, below the average 3.1. Year to date, we've received 2.31 inches, which is 3.89 inches below the average. There were 76 PA1 calls. All pump stations were operating normally. Now that the weather has warmed up a bit, tank repairs at the Eagleview wastewater treatment plant have restarted. Blooming Glen, our contractor, is diligently working to complete the remaining items as soon as possible. HRG, our sewer consultant, was reviewing the costs associated with the pipe replacement along Route 100 and has made a recommendation for us to proceed. The goal is to begin this weekend. That's an emergency repair. Our total costs anticipated is $300,000. It shouldn't be any more than $300,000. And the road crew was out for 9 salt events and 1 plow event.
Thank you. Fire Marshal's report.
Yes, for the month of February, the building department issued 84 permits for construction activities. A total of 116 inspections were conducted. 16 fire inspections were completed. 55 use and occupancy certificates were issued, and the fire marshal responded to 16 incidents during working hours and conducted 1 burning complaint investigation.
Thank you. Lineville Fire Company.
Lineville Fire Company responded to 59 incidents during the month of February. 38 of those were in Uwchlan, 6 in Upper Uwchlan, 3 in West Pikeland, and 12 in other municipalities. The year to date is 125.
Thank you. And Uwchlan Ambulance. Hello.
For the month of February, Uwchlan responded to 418 calls for a total of 832 so far. 126 in February were in Uwchlan for a total of 227. The comment for senior living facilities, Exton Senior Living, was 12 for a yearly total of 19. Eagleview Landing of 6 for a yearly total of 17.
Great. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the reports? So moved.
Second.
Is there any board question or comment?
No.
Nope. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Moving along to our business agenda for tonight. Number 1, adoption of drug testing policy appendix to collective bargaining agreement, the Uwchlan Township Police Association.
We're recommending the board adopt the drug testing policy appendix to the collective bargaining agreement with the Uwchlan Police Association. This is the result of arbitration between the association and the township. The arbitration award includes a new detailed random drug testing policy. Some of the highlights of the policy include the township chooses the testing provider and the medical review officer. Quarterly, the township manager chooses 2 police officers to be tested. No officer can be tested more than 3 times per calendar year. And upon receiving a positive test result, an officer will be placed on paid administrative leave while an investigation takes place. If there's found to be no reasonable factual or medical explanation for the positive result, the officer is suspended without pay for 5 days and given an opportunity to enter a substance abuse program for treatment, and any subsequent violation of the policy may subject the officer to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Much like with arbitration, we prevail on some issues and don't on others. The other side prevails. And at this point, this is what everybody's recommending.
Thank you. Is there
I'll make a motion to adopt the drug testing policy appendix to the collective bargaining agreement with Uwchlan Police Association.
I'll second. Is there any board question or comment?
No.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 2, contracts. Turn it over to Mr. Kegel.
There's 2 contracts that I'm requesting authorization to enter into. I'll read both and then kind of go from there. The first is requesting authorization to enter into a contract with Polco US for the National Community Survey. Contract amount is $29,500 and includes administration of the survey, paper versions of the survey, custom questions, and benchmarking against 2 similar communities of our choosing. The survey would go out around June and is the first step in developing our 5-year strategic plan. I'm not aware of any Chester County municipalities, other Chester County municipalities that are utilizing the survey, but I do know some other municipalities in Southeast Pennsylvania are using the survey. and a number of municipalities across the country use this. It's a national community survey, so it allows us to compare. Everybody is asked the same questions. We're able to kind of compare where we stand with other similar size, similar situated municipalities. Then the second contract is with HRG for grant writing services. Contract amount is $30,000 and includes the development of 5 grant applications, as well as quarterly meetings with us to identify priority projects for grant funding. The first grant that they would work with is DCNR for the Shimona Peck Nature Play and a comprehensive parks, recreation, and open space plan.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion for approval of the contracts as read by Mr. Cagle?
So moved.
Is there any? Oh. I'll go ahead and second it. Is there any public or any board questions or comments?
I just have a comment about the contract with Polco for the National Community Survey. I personally think it's not the best fit for our township. I think it is, I mean, as much as I would love community feedback, I think it's more, to me, it seems it's more geared towards cities and towns. And it's expensive, and I don't believe we've looked at other survey opportunities to get feedback on the community. And it seems like it's a subscription where if you really want to benchmark it, and then you're gonna have to use the same survey again and pay again to, you know, see how you're doing, how you're progressing, and it just feels like maybe not the best fit. And I would ask that we look into other options for getting that kind of community feedback.
In light of that, I think we should vote on these contracts separately.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion, I'll withdraw the previous motion and make a motion to enter into the contract for Polco for the National Community Survey, to authorize the township manager to enter into the contract for Polco for the National Community Survey.
I'll go ahead and second that motion. Were there any other comments or questions regarding that? All right, any public comments? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion
Should I say
passes.
aye for that?
Okay. Moving along to number B, authorization for the township manager to enter into a contract with HRG for grant writing services.
I'll make a motion to authorize the township manager to enter the contract for HRD writing services, grant writing services.
I'll second that.
Are there any board questions or comments?
I think this is an amazing use of township taxpayer dollars.
I'll just add that I'm looking forward to a lot of the proposals that are going out for grants this year, and I want to thank the staff for the work that they've put into that. And I look forward to seeing them come to fruition in the near future. Are there any public comments?
So can you come up just to the mic and just,
State your name and your question.
thank you.
Greg Weiss, I'm a taxpayer here, resident. Just a quick question. What's the cost for that contract or that grant writing contract?
Mr. Cagle?
It's $30,000 for the development of 5 grant applications and then quarterly meetings to identify other projects that are grant eligible.
Okay, so $30,000 for a year. Is it a 1-year contract?
Yeah, correct.
And then it's renewed annually, so we can decide whether we got our money's worth. We're happy with it. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Right. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 3, bid award for Taylor Road paving project.
We're recommending a bid award to Innovative Construction Services in the amount of $138,156.43 for the township's paving program. This will involve full width milling, delivery, and placement of wearing course, base repair, leveling course, and line striping for Taylor Road between Peck Road and Spring Run Lane. It also includes the same for Dublin and Plank. And then finally, it also includes restoration of 3 driveways along Taylor Road, which will be disturbed as part of our own internal stormwater project.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and motion for the bid to be awarded to Innovative Construction Services in the amount of $138,156.45. Conditioned on project approval from PennDOT Municipal Services.
I'll second that.
Are there any board questions or comments? No. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Number 4, permission to advertise bid for reinforced concrete pipe.
We're requesting authorization to issue a bid for reinforced concrete pipe to be used as part of the Taylor Road Stormwater Project.
All right, I'll make a motion to allow advertisement for the bid for the reinforced concrete pipe.
I'll second that.
Any board questions or comments?
No.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 5, Uwchlan ambulance request for additional capital contribution in the amount of $55,000. I believe we have Mrs. Kazone here to speak on behalf. Thank you.
Kazone, Uwchlan Ambulance. So you might recall when we did our presentation last year, we had indicated that we would like to receive an additional $55,000 to pay off the principal of an ambulance that we purchased last year. However, in the meantime, I was able to secure a 2% state loan to cut that principal in half, and I had to refinance it. And so in order to not have to refinance it again, I would like to ask for the same $55,000, but instead to use it for a re-chassis that we are just trying to accumulate the funds to take delivery of. So the total cost of that re-chassis was $293,000. And so in addition to the money that we already received, plus the $55,000, we would only have to take a loan out for $105,000. So that is my official request to you, is for $55,000 to help secure a re-chassis for $293,000. And I neglected to start by saying thank you very much for passing the EMS tax and for your commitment to our organization. It really does mean a lot to us.
Thank you. Is there a motion to make an additional capital contribution to Uwchlan Ambulance in the amount of $55,000?
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any board question or comment?
No.
No? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving along to number 6, budget supplements.
We have two budgets, excuse me, we have two budget supplements. The first is to establish a budget for the Department of Community and Economic Development grant we received to refresh the police department locker room. That's a $50,000 grant. And so it's revenue in and then expenditure out. And then the second is to establish the Emergency Services Tax Fund budget. We had previously had it in the general fund, but we're putting it into its own separate fund.
Great. I'll make a motion to approve both of the budget supplements for the police locker room refresh and the establishing the Emergency Services Tax Fund budget.
I'll second.
Is there any board questions or comments? I'll just comment. I want to make sure that we acknowledge and thank Danielle Otten and her office for helping us with procuring that $50,000 grant for our police locker room refresh. And a great partner in that respect. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I'll call them. Oh, sorry. Is there? Oh, I asked for public. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Number 7, resolutions. We'll go through these one by one. Resolution A, 2025-12, the 2025 tax duplicate.
This resolution directs that the tax duplicate for 2025 be transmitted to the elected tax collector for the collection of 2025 taxes as follows. For the general purpose millage, in the amount of $133,676.17. So that's the general fund, the general tax. We collect total of $133,676. The special assessment for fire hydrants in the amount of $83,735.62. And then the emergency services fund for EMS in the amount of $471,799.38. For the total taxes, $689,211.17.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-12, the 2025 tax duplicate.
Second.
Is there any board question or comment?
Yeah.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. B, Resolution 2025-13, Right to Know Policy. Mr. Freed?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a policy on how right to know requests are handled by the administration. Non-police right to know requests originally started to work on a rewrite because of what we're seeing in a lot of municipalities is that because of AI, you're starting to get a lot of these anonymous right to know requests or right to know requests with names that aren't really not really registered to a real person or even an entity, a real entity. So the law does give the township the ability to prohibit, not have to respond to anonymous requests. In doing that, we also saw that there was we took it as an opportunity to essentially update the right to know policy that's relatively consistent with the state form. So that's what this is.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-13, the right to know policy.
I'll second.
Is there any board question or comment?
No.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. C, Resolution 2025-14, Contractor Registration. Mr. Freed?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is, the township has both registration and administrative fees for certain permitting actions. There is a state law that essentially says that a contractor that's designated to be a home improvement contractor is treated differently than any other contractor. And this is the way our ordinances and fees have always been applied. There were some questions that were raised about how the policies and resolutions were actually written. So we went back and sort of clarified some of the language just to make clear that it's in compliance with what's known as the Home Improvement Contractor Protection Act, that there are certain fees that are going to be, and registration fees that are going to be applied to what we call non-HIPCA. HIPCA is the Home Improvement Protection Act, not non-HIPCA consultants. And then if you're a HIPCA contractor, there's other ways that you can register, not actually register, but you would actually come in and let the township know that you're here and doing, if you're going to be pulling permits, there's different forms you would fill out.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve resolution 2025-14, the contractor registration.
Well, second.
Is there any board question or comment?
No.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. D, Resolution 2025-15, Fee Schedule Update. Mr.
So
Freed?
thank you, Madam Chair. So this is actually part of the HIPCA resolution rewrite and clarification. What we've done is update the fee schedule to make clear that if you're a home improvement contractor, there is no registration fee because HIPCA contractors are not subject to registration. There's not even an annual fee. There is a $40 administrative fee that would apply if and when you pull your first permit. So if you don't pull permits for 5 years, you're not paying any fees for 5 years if you come into the township to actually apply for a permit. On your first time applying for the permit that year, there will be a $40 administrative fee because it essentially is to cover the township looking at and assuring that you have the proper insurance and other requirements. So that's essentially what this is. It just goes hand in hand with the HIPAA resolution.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-15, the fee schedule update.
Second.
Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. E, Resolution 2025-16, DCNR grant for Shimona Peck Nature Play and Park Improvements. Mr. Kegel?
This resolution authorizes the township manager to file a grant application with DCNR to help fund the Shimona Peck Nature Play and Park improvements. Estimated grant amount would be about $214,000.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-16, the DCNR grant for Shimona Peck Nature Play Park Improvement application.
Any board question or comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Motion passes. And F, Resolution 2025-17, DCNR grant for comprehensive parks, recreation, and open space plan.
This resolution authorizes me to file a grant application with DCNR to help fund the comprehensive parks, recreation, and open space plan. Estimated grant amount to be request about $75,000.
I'll move to approve resolution 2025-17, authorizing Mr. Cagle to apply for the DCNR grant for comprehensive parks, recreation, and open space.
Second.
Is there any board question or comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Moving along to number 8, ordinances. A, ordinance 2025-03, stop sign at Allen Drive and Glendale Road.
We're requesting adoption of the ordinance establishing a 4-way stop at the intersection of Glendale Road and Allen Drive. This is currently a 2-way stop. We received a resident complaint, conducted a traffic study, and found the sight distance of the intersection insufficient. So the recommendation is to make this intersection a 4-way stop.
So as part of this ordinance proposal, there are a number of exhibits. We have Board Exhibit 1, which is a copy of the proposed ordinance number 2025-03. Exhibit B2 is the notice of hearing, the language that was published in the Daily Local. Board Exhibit 3 is the proof of publication of the ordinance on February 28th, 2025, and Board Exhibit 4 is a certificate of posting at the Township building of the hearing.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-03, installing a stop sign at Allen Drive and Glendale Road.
Second.
Is there any board question or comment?
I just think the stop sign will make the neighborhood of Marchwood much safer for both cars and pedestrians.
Is there any public comment? All right. With that, I will call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. B, ordinance 2025-04, repeal Chapter 7 ambulance services.
We are requesting adoption of an ordinance repealing Chapter 7 ambulance services. This chapter deals specifically with the ability for Uwchlan Ambulance to bill for non-emergency responses. In speaking with Uwchlan Ambulance, they were unaware the ordinance was in place and do not see a need for this ordinance.
So we have 4 exhibits that go along with this ordinance as well. Board Exhibit 1 is the proposed ordinance number 2025-04. Board Exhibit 2 is the notice of hearing to the Daily Local. Board Exhibit 3 is the proof of publication in the Daily Local on February 28th, 2025. And Board Exhibit 4 is their certificate of posting.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025 4 to repeal chapter 7 of ambulance services.
Second.
Is there any board question or comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving along to number 9, personnel. Mr. Cagle?
If it's okay, I'll lump all 4 of those together. I'm recommending the promotions of the following individuals. Jeff Cease to Public Works Director, Kyle Kalendon to Assistant Public Works Director, Jared Knight to Wastewater Superintendent, and John Davis to Park Superintendent. This is part of the overall restructuring of Public Works, bringing everybody together. We advertised, conducted a number of interviews, and ultimately found that we believe these are the best folks to fill those positions. It's a little bit of a chess game in terms of shuffling all the positions. And so we would have John transition first, then Kyle over, once John's up to speed about a month later, Kyle over into Bruce's position. We're going to advertise for 2 sewer laborers, 2 wastewater laborers. And once we have those backfilled, Jared will be able to transition in and Jeff transition in. A lot of moving pieces. When we get there, it's going to be good.
So I'll move to approve the personnel movements and promotions, et cetera, as was just described. I'm not going to try to repeat all that.
I'll second that. Are there any board questions or comments?
No.
Oh, is there any public comment?
Actually, I do have a comment. Just, I think it's great that we have the employees in the organization already that are able to move up in their positions. And look forward to seeing them in the new roles.
I agree. Okay, is there any public comment? No, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 10, appointments.
Community Day Committee, both Lee Wisdom and James Wisdom were at our last meeting, which was last week. They have showed interest in joining the committee, and we are in need of people, so they are looking to be appointed.
I'll make a motion to appoint Lee Wisdom and James Wisdom to the Community Day Committee.
I'll second that.
Any board questions or comments?
No, we're just thankful for volunteers, as always.
Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. B, Environmental Advisory Council.
Also at their last meeting, Calla Dickey was in attendance, and she is interested in joining the EAC.
I make a motion to appoint Calla Dickey to the Environmental Advisory Council.
I'll second.
Any board questions or comments?
I'd just like to say we interviewed Calla last week, and it was a pleasure to meet her, and we're excited to have her on the committee.
Any public comments?
We look forward to her joining. We need more, we need more involvement.
Thank you. All right. I'll go ahead and call the vote.
Yeah.
All in favor? Or aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 11, Love Car Wash, 850 North Pottstown Pike, preliminary final land development plan submission.
Yes, we received the preliminary final land development plan submission for Love Car Wash. This property is looking to redevelop and remove the existing Sunoco gas station. The plans have been sent out to our consultants for review, and they will plan to attend the April Planning Commission meeting for discussion.
Thank you. Number 12, Rockwell Downingtown LLC conditional use plan hearing extension.
On February 21st, Rockwell Downingtown LLC submitted an additional extension allowing the township until June 2nd, 2025 to conduct their first hearing for the conditional use application and plan that was submitted on February 3rd, 2025. This extension allows us to continue discussions concerning a potential 55-plus residential development. Similar to last month, no action needs to be taken by the township other than acknowledging receipt of the extension.
Great. Thank you. And number 13, Liborio-Louviers LLC, 339 West Uwchlan Avenue, conditional use decision.
Yes, last month after the board meeting, we had the conditional use hearing for Liborio-Louviers LLC. They are looking to construct a 30,000 square foot building with a 600 square foot office area at the property located at 339 West Uwchlan Avenue. We drafted some conditions that were sent out to you guys for review. I'll go through some of the highlights of that conditions. They were also requesting a waiver from section 503.3, which requires sidewalks be provided. So with this conditional use decision, we're recommending that the applicant obtain preliminary final land development approval for the property. They obtain necessary variances from the zoning hearing board to construct the building within the riparian setback and buffer area. That they obtain all necessary permits from DEP and Army Corps of Engineers for wetland disturbance. That the applicant shall pay a fee in lieu of pedestrian facilities in the amount satisfactory to the township. Also, they obtain got approval for the new driveway on Route 113 to provide access to the property. And along with their PennDOT review, PennDOT should request the need for a dedicated turn lane as well as allowing for additional right-of-way for the future widening of 113. The applicant shall comply with all of the comments of the township engineer's review letters, and there shall be no storage of outside motor vehicles or goods or equipment or anything else. All storage shall be inside. No flammable or hazardous materials will be permitted, and the self-storage facility will be open from 10 to 5 on weekdays and 10 to 3 on weekends. That is just some of the highlights of the conditional use decision. So if you guys are okay with that, it would be up to you to recommend approval.
And
Approval.
just to clarify one issue, so this is for the conditional use, but and they are going to be coming in for land development. But one of the things that they're asking for as part of this conditional use is the waiver on the sidewalk. So it's conditional use with this one waiver as well.
And the waiver could also be granted during land development, but it's also included in the conditional use decision.
I'll make a motion to grant the approval of the conditional use decision.
I'll second that.
Is there any board questions or comment?
I think this project has a long road ahead of it.
Maybe.
That's all I have to say.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. If I could draw your attention to the announcements on the back of tonight's agenda. All meetings will be held at the Township Building unless otherwise noted. On March 13th, the Historical Commission will be meeting at 7:30 p.m. at the Cadwalder House. On March 19th, the Zoning Hearing Board will meet at 7 p.m. On March 20th, the Environmental Advisory Council will meet at 7 p.m. On April 2nd, the Planning Commission will meet at 7 p.m. On April 7th, the Board of Supervisors workshop meeting will take place at 12 p.m. Also on the 7th, Community Day Committee meeting at 6 p.m. On April 10th, the Historical Commission will be meeting at 7:30 p.m. at the Cadwalder House. And on April 14th, the Board of Supervisors meeting will be here at 7 p.m. With that, is there any public comment this evening? No? Okay. Can I just have you come up? I know who you are, but share with the rest of us.
Rich Jordan, 196 Juniper Lane. I was just wondering, is there any update on the Rossi property? I haven't heard anything recently. I live right behind that.
Mr. Cagle looks like he would like to give an update. Rossi property.
We've contracted with a consultant to prepare a master plan for that. So we are in the very, very, very early stages of figuring out what really to do there. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for public comment and public input between surveys and open houses, and they've got a lot of different ideas planned for what all can be part of that. The steering committee is made up of residents. There's some township staff, but then there's residents from Wyndham, from Turnberry, from Reber Circle. We have 2 high school students on the steering committee. So really trying to make sure that there's a good, broad, diverse set of voices as part of that to help drive a lot of that. And then again, it's gonna be lots of opportunity for public input as part of that.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other comment, is there a motion to adjourn for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.